my dudes, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Grace, aka Cosmo Claus. I am a resin artist and art supply hoarder. Today's video is a little bit different. I'm gonna do I guess you could call it a vlog, but essentially I'm gonna be talking about why I shut down my Etsy shop. I talked about this a little bit when it happened a couple of years ago, but I mean, TLDR is they stole my money directly out of my bank account, denied it, and then I had to shut the whole thing down. So let's get into it. So I first opened my Etsy shop in 2019. It was like the end of the year. It was just before the pandemic started. And I was making press-on nails, like press-on fingernails. I really jumped into that like big Etsy mindset where I was, I don't want to say obsessed, but I like really wanted to build up like the amount of sales I had on Etsy, you know, so people could see my Etsy page and be really excited to give me their money. And honestly, like once the pandemic began and we were in 2020, like I was lucky enough to just be at home making art, uploading anything I felt like to my Etsy and to my Instagram. And you know, I found a lot of friends that way, like a lot of arty friends. I sold to a lot of other artists. I started making silicone molds for other resin artists. I started doing resin art. I did a whole bunch of things in 2020, to be honest, and now we're here. When I really started jumping into my Etsy was I had a customer asked me to make them like a custom item, so something I'd never made before, and by this time I was a resin artist. So she was a big fan of Stardew Valley, the video game, which I also am. I have a little character from Stardew Valley tattooed on my arm. I love it, it's my favorite. So she contacted me and she wanted me to make a mermaid pendant, which if you've never played Stardew, is something that you give a character to propose to them. It's like an engagement ring. And honestly, like that was really magical. I got to make this little necklace for someone. I bought like an actual shell. I made a silicone mold out of it. I got to make this thing and it was really special. And after she had proposed to her wife now, I started making more of them, and honestly they were like popping off. I would make these sort of like one-off unique resin things and pop them in my shop and they would sit there for a while, but I would get like 2, 3, 4, 5 orders for these Stardew Valley necklaces a week. I was barely even advertising them. It was kind of when I discovered like how Etsy brings their own ads, really. And I found that I was selling a lot of my unique one-off stuff on Instagram. So I kind of just let Etsy become the place that I sold Stardew Valley stuff. I started making little stickers and everything else was just straight on my Instagram stories and I sold like that. I did start having a couple of like small-ish little problems with Etsy before the theft occurred. So I have got, you know, these policies on my Etsy. I don't know if you guys know this, but if you own an Etsy shop, you can have these little policies in your shop about how things work, shipping times, anything that like customers kind of need to know before they buy stuff from you. I essentially have 2 Etsy store policies. First one, I don't refund custom items. So when you order something from me that's completely custom, I'm gonna make it, I'm gonna check in with you like several times throughout the process to make sure that you like it. But you know, if I finish it off and you've given me the thumb the whole way through and then you decide you don't want it, too bad. Like I now can't sell this on to another person. So you've got to be completely sure in the design stage that you really want this. And I mean, as a designer, like I make sure that, you know, I'm asking all the questions and everything like that. So custom items, no refunds. And the second Etsy policy that I had, and this is like in a banner at the top of my Etsy shop, it's on every listing, it's everywhere, is that I don't check my Etsy over weekends. So I essentially treated my Etsy like a full-time job. And the reason I did this is A, because it was my full-time job, and because I was in the middle of a pandemic. So if I didn't treat, you know, my mind and my body with respect, meaning that if I stayed up until 3 a.m. on a Saturday making orders, or I was working really early mornings, late nights, like I would just sort of lose control, and I needed that kind of structure, especially during the pandemic. So I was doing 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday to Friday. Like that was my availability for messages across really anything, like Instagram, Etsy, whatever. And then, you know, whatever message I missed over the weekend, you would get a response from me like in the first couple hours on Monday morning. And that policy very clearly, like I said, right there on my Etsy. So this Mary lady in America, she ordered something from me like Tuesday night, Wednesday morning sort of deal. Like I would have been asleep when she ordered it because she's on the other side of the planet, but it was like Tuesday-ish, Wednesday-ish. I'm like, yep, Cool, gone through all the design stage, everything like that. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I've like made it, right? It was like three days. And then I turned my Etsy messages off. Like, her thing is made. I've told her that I'm going to ship it out on Monday. And that's it. Like, I put my Etsy down. So over the course of the weekend, she asks me a question, like, for me, 2 o'clock in the morning, like Saturday morning, 2 a.m. She asked me a question. She knows I'm on the other side of the planet. But she asked me a question that was like in my FAQs already. It was already in my frequently asked questions. It was something like handling time for Australia Post or something like that, you know. Nothing that affected what I'd made for her. She'd already seen it. She said she already loved it. She was excited to get it. She knew I was going to ship it out on Monday. So she asked me a question that I don't see until Monday morning. But by the time Monday morning comes around, she has sent me several messages, gotten very upset, called me names in my inbox, like just gone crazy. She has contacted Etsy and said, Grace isn't responding to my messages. She has requested a refund and Etsy has just given it to her. Like, there was no message to me. There was none of that. There was no, hey Grace, this is happening, can you respond? There was no time frame, there was nothing. She just said, I haven't gotten the response that I want or a response at all over the weekend, even though her Etsy policies say she's not going to be there. And Etsy just went, cool, and took the money out of my account. So all the money that I have spent on materials making that thing, gone. My profit, gone. The shipping money, gone. Obviously, I'm not going to ship it to her. She can't have it. But I have now lost out on the money for all the materials I've just used. I contacted Etsy. They didn't care. They were like, you need to be available in your messages. And so I'm sort of having this back and forth with one Etsy representative, which I will say is actually a positive now. Because once you guys hear about why I actually shut down my Etsy account, I was talking to like 10 different representatives over just a couple of days, and it was insane. So I'm talking to just this one person, and I'm just saying, what is the purpose of having a shop policy if you guys are just gonna override it? Like, I have made this item. This woman has gone nuts in my inbox. Like, she's gone crazy. And I just never got my money back. Like, I lost out on the materials for that. I don't think I sold the thing that I made her for probably like a year because it was just so specific to her. It had words on it. Like, it was just so frustrating. She then left me a 1-star review as well. Like, lady, I didn't even sell anything to you. Like, and I spoke to Etsy about it because they apparently have a thing where you can contact them and you can get them to take down 1-star reviews, but they wouldn't. I didn't even sell anything to this lady. And there was a 1-star review from her saying, bad communication, never got my item. And I'm like, you never got your item because you didn't pay for it. You actually had that money taken back out of my bank account and I lost out. So after that happened, I stopped doing customs on Etsy. I actually just left my Etsy for the Stardew Valley shells, and I would make them like 10 at a time whenever I just had a second, and they would sit there. When an order came in from Etsy, it would already be ready. A little shell and a sticker, I would pop it in an envelope and I would send it, and it was done. And I was like, cool, I have simplified this. I will do all customs on Instagram. And we're G. Apparently we're not G. We're so far away from G. So that happened in 2020. We fast forward to December of 2022. So I've had an Etsy for ages. Once the pandemic sort of died down a little bit and retail opened back up, I was working for other people a lot more. So I was making a lot less art than usual. So the shells, the shells I was selling on Etsy were kind of like my fun money, to be honest. Like, they were paying for themselves to be made, and then it was like the money I was able to get more art supplies. So December 2022, I'm on the couch. And it's like midday, I'm just like having my lunch, check my bank account, and there is $105 missing. Taken. Just nowhere to be found. I had a look, and 2 direct debits from Etsy, labeled as exactly the same bank account that I get my deposits from when I make a sale from Etsy. So 2 direct debits from that account. One was about $50 and one was about $55. They were like dollars and cents. They were like really specific amounts that I did not recognize. And I was really confused. Like I hadn't had a lot of sales, and like nothing I sell on Etsy equals exactly $50 or $55. It was really strange. So I checked my emails, because whenever anything happens on Etsy, you get an email. None of that. I went onto Etsy, I had a look at my transactions, because even when you issue someone a refund, it's in the transactions. The amounts just aren't there, and I'm so confused. I'm like, what is going on? I called my bank first thing, because I just thought, like, money is being taken out of my account and I literally can't figure out how, and it's going to be a lot faster to contact my bank in Australia than it is going to be to contact Etsy, who like I have to wait a couple of days for a representative. I just wanted to make sure that my bank account was safe, so called the bank. They confirmed, like, yeah, this is exactly the same account that deposits that money on these dates. So I had like gone through all the information with them, explained it, whatever, and they said, yeah, it's Etsy, like it's them. And I went, okay, fine. Now I can contact Etsy and I have all the facts. This first round of talking to Etsy took like almost a week of, I send an email, I give them all the information, you get that automated email back that says, cool, we'll be with you shortly. Someone emails me asking questions, I respond, and then the response to that second email is a brand new person who hasn't read anything at all from the previous emails, and I then have to reiterate. And this happened about 10 times over a couple of weeks. I spoke to 10, I actually think it was 11 different representatives from Etsy who I would say, yep, it's Grace, this happened, here's the screenshots from my bank statement, there's nothing on Etsy, my bank has assured me and confirmed that it's you guys, you've taken my money and there's no reason for it. And I kept hitting this weird wall where every single representative would say, I'm not able to view those transactions. And I thought what they were saying is like, it's not there, it's not there. Like, it's not there, it's not there, it's not there. And I'm like, that's interesting because my bank says it is. And then I realized after talking to like the 5th or 6th person, what they were saying is, I don't have the ability to access the page that has like Grace Cosmoclaws's transactions. And I'm like, so put me through to someone who can. Like, what are you talking about? Well, I'm 6 people deep and not a single one of these customer representatives has said, oh, that's above my pay grade, or like, that's a different team to me, let me transfer you. I'm over here losing my mind, because at the time I was working and I was like paying off a lot of things, and I didn't have a lot of like wiggle room money, and then all of a sudden $105 just comes out of my account. And like, that's not a crazy amount of money, but it's a crazy amount of money not to have. Especially because I knew that at any time they could just take more money out of my bank account. And my bank, when I originally called them, they had said to me, would you like to block the access to this account? And I said, if you do that, are they going to be able to deposit money into my account? And my bank said no. So essentially I'm like, if I stop them from being able to steal my money, I'm also stopping them from being able to deposit my sales. So I'm like, just really frustrated at this point. I got to a point where all I could do was close my Etsy. I didn't want to. It was bringing in new, different customers that all of my socials weren't bringing in. It was finding, you know, Stardew people who were on Etsy. I really liked it. I liked that I got to, you know, sell to new people, talk to new people, especially like we love the same video game. But like, I got to the point where like, I was in the double digits of the amount of people I'd spoken to at Etsy, and every time I said, can you please put me through to someone who is able to actually access my account transaction information, they would say yes, transfer me to someone, and then that person would say they can't access it either. And I was going in circles. And I just had to close my account. I never got my money back. And Etsy eventually just stopped responding to my emails. I'm saying, the money's been stolen, like it's been stolen. My bank has confirmed these are the exact account details. Here is a screenshot of the email from my bank. Here's my bank's information. The bank even said, can you give us a specific like contact number and we will speak to them? And Etsy was like, we don't do that. And I'm like, oh, you don't do that, but you steal? Like, I was losing my mind. And I just had to close it. Like, there's nothing I could do. It's now been what, almost exactly 2 years. I still have a little container of like half-made shells because I just got like a bad taste in my mouth when it came to making those shells because of what Etsy had done, which is so silly. Like I could make them and I could upload them to Instagram and I could still sell them, but I don't know, I'd gone through this almost traumatic event and I couldn't make these shells anymore. So that's what happened. That was probably a bunch of rambling, that's probably like a bunch of babbling, but that's what happened. And I have seen a lot of people online complaining about different things about Etsy over the last 2 years, like the changes, all the AI, like just how their customer representatives don't exist, they're not real people, they never get a message back. Like, no one more than me is more disappointed in how like the biggest handmade marketplace online has like just been absolutely ravaged by this nonsense. Like, let's be real, by profits. Like, it's AI, the customer representatives are AI, like everything, like nothing is handmade anymore. And I hate it. I hate it so much. I genuinely welcome you guys to talk to me about this, leave a comment if the same thing has happened to you. If you love Etsy, please tell me. If it's working for you, please tell me. Honestly, that would be like a light in the dark with this situation. But yeah, just over the last couple of months, I've just been seeing a lot of people talk about the different problems that they've had with Etsy, and even people asking if they should start one. And I've been like, I don't know, man, like they took my money. I'm never gonna get that back, it's $100. It's gone, it's in the ether, and they won't even admit it. So there's nothing really I can do outside of that. But look, if you want some pretty resin things or some comic book skateboards or the 100,000 different things that I make, go and find me on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, not Etsy. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have made it this far, you are amazing. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if I can ask you a favor, if you can go into my description. At the moment, I am raising funds for my medical bills. So if you go into the description, click the link, you'll have a look at some of the details about that. I would love it if you guys could share the link to it. That would be amazing. It's kind of how crowdfunding works. And if you can donate, that would be great as well. But thank you so much. I will see you guys in 2 weeks. Bye!